Hey, all right. You are listening to the Deadman's Tome podcast, a show that's broadcast, recorded at a trailer park deep in the heart of Meth County, Texas. I'm your host, Mr. Deadman, and tonight we're talking about werewolves because I want to become a werewolf if I can, right? What would it be like, right? Come on, it should be. How bad could it be? So, I mean, the transformation sequences always look painful. Like your ribs are changing, your body's like changing all these drastic ways. They look really painful. You're losing your clothes and all that. Your jawline is changing, and But how bad can it be, right? Because afterwards, based on movies, you come back to your human form and everything's just fine. And so anyway, we're going to talk about werewolves. What are werewolves? How do we become them? And what can we do if you no longer want to be one? That's what we're talking about. Let me make sure I have the chat up here. All right, I do. Good. Okay. By the way, if you want to help support the show, if you want to help support Deadman's Tome, support me. I know things are tough with the coronavirus, so believe me, this is just if you can, if you're willing to. See the link up here? You use that link, the Streamlabs. I can't even speak right now. The Streamlabs link. I will, for $1, I'll chug some beer. For $5, I'll take a shot of Kraken rum. Okay. Those listening to on the podcast feed, just know that it's streamlabs.com/Mr. Deadman DT. Okay. Okay. So let me go ahead and start this show off doing that. Let me go ahead and take a shot anyway. People are going through rough times right now. This is for them, okay? I mean, what else can I do, right? I can't change the problems that you're facing right now, but what I can do for you, I can take this harshness and pretend to enjoy it. And that is the Kraken. Actually, this is pretty good. The Black Roast Coffee Rum, it's pretty good stuff. I like it. Ooh, man. All right. So, let's get this started. What exactly is a werewolf? Like, I know we're all familiar of the concept of a human that shapeshifts into a wolf or some sort of a wolf-like creature, right? I mean, let's face it. Let's be real. Modern werewolves are nothing like wolves, nor are they anything like human. There's like these very ferocious, jacked up beasts that maybe they take on the savage nature of a werewolf, but they just crank that all the way to the max. The only way they would be related to a wolf is if you gave a wolf like straight up meth. But anyway, so but how did this start? How did it happen? Well, we turn to classic folklore. Actually, we have to go all the way to like late 2nd century BC. In the first appearance of a werewolf, according to experts and scholars and all that, is in Gilgamesh. Is in the epic Gilgamesh. In it, Gilgamesh refuses to become the lover of the goddess Ishtar because of her cruel treatment of her previous suitors. Ishtar turned one man, a shepherd, turned him into a wolf, making the enemies of his friends. Now, because of that, well, I mean, that's the first showing right there. So we have a transformation of some person turning into a wolf. Okay. You also have some occurrences in ancient Greek with King Lycaon, I should say. I want to say Lycaon. It looks like Lycaon. I think it's Lycaon. King Lycaon, the first werewolf, at least as far as ancient Greeks go. Once upon a time, according to this mythology, there was a king, Lycaon, he ruled over the land of Arcadia, thousands of men and women under his command. And his palace was filled with gold, fine foods, elaborate artwork. But one thing he did not have was love. In these tales, in this mythology, apparently, Lycaon decided to serve human flesh to Zeus in an attempt to see if Zeus was really all that knowing, was really a god that knows all. Well, Zeus realized what happened. You realize what happened? It was like, you fed me a child. It wasn't just any child anyway. It was a Lycaon's son, apparently, according to the mythology here. Lycaon's son. So Lycaon was so devoted to proving whether or not Zeus is all powerful, all knowing, that he killed his son, butchered his son, cooked him up to serve to Zeus. And Zeus like, no, now I'm gonna turn you into a wolf. Okay. Transform him to a wolf as punishment. Of course, there's other accounts in Greek literature, Greek mythology, of people turning into wolves, roaming the land. Hell, apparently Arcadia is a common place to go for people to turn into wolves. Even in Virgil's poetic work, he referred to various men turning into wolves. I mean, it's... In one account, according to the epic, according to the poem, Virgil describes an incident where a man turned into a werewolf, by putting his clothes, like stripping his clothes off and pissing around his clothes. And then he just turns into a wolf. And that's it. It's gone. Now, what about the name werewolf? The name werewolf, where does that come from? What is that? It's Old English. Werewolf. Were, man, and wolf. It's quite simple. Though, depending on where you search, it's like hit and miss. It's like during the medieval times, the accounts of werewolves in Europe wasn't so much. They were more focused on wolf men, which kind of seemed like what is that the same thing? It's not the same thing. It's a man that turns into a wolf, or is it a wolf that's a man? After all, we just mentioned Greek poetry, where the punishment was turning a man into a wolf, right? But we'll talk about wolf men later in another episode. However, let's see. Werewolves definitely do make an appearance during the witch trials. They were werewolvery was a common association in witch trials throughout their history, and around 1448, in the 15th century, around that time. Oh, there's something else I forgot to mention here. Talk about its history, because we got to talk about. I can't skip over this. So in the Greek, if you look at the name, right, the name lichen. I think you might think of a lycanthropy, right? Lycanthropy, lichens. That appears in ancient Greek, which, of course, you don't know what that means. It's a man that turns to a wolf. It's a human wolf. It also appears again in late antiquity Greek history with clinical literature. by Galen. Which is going to be something interesting because we will talk about in later streams clinical psychology papers that look into lycanthropy. Apparently around 16th century, around that time, it was becoming a thing where people were actually investigating lycanthropy a little bit more. What is this? I mean, if you have someone in the Roman times, if you have a philosopher, a physician, a surgeon, Galen, he was Greek, right? During his time, investigating lycanthropy, referring to patients who have this, having a ravenous appetite and qualities of a wolf. At least they would act like they're a wolf. They would pretend that they're a wolf. They would believe that they are a wolf and act like it. We will definitely in later streams, forecasting what later subjects will be about on this show on Wednesdays, talk about the clinical papers that I have, where I guess you can say they're research one way or the other, right? Now going back to the witch trials. Yeah. So it shouldn't be a surprise that werewolves were hunted too. Anyone who had any sort of superstitious quality to them, people could just blame anyone for anything, right? Oh, that person's a witch. That person's a werewolf. Okay, that happened. That happened. Usually it happened because of maybe the people were associated with gruesome violence, gruesome murder, and cannibalism, and didn't really know how to really explain it. They're just, oh, they're obviously a werewolf. They have to be. We got to burn them at the stake. Okay. There's historical accounts, historical papers talking about how people were arrested for being a wolf, being a werewolf. Teenagers were arrested around 1598 for being a werewolf. Was in prison, actually, I'm sorry, in 1603. Priests were talking about werewolves. But by a Vaude pastor in 1653, he argued that lycanthropy was purely an illusion. After that, later on in 1670, he accounted that there was a boy who claimed that he and his mother could change themselves into werewolves, which was not really taken very seriously, of course. Now, that's at first, but in 17th century, when witchcraft was prosecuted, you have people coming out looking for werewolves. If they can kill them, anyone of a supernatural presence to them, right? Anyone who has any ties with the devil or anything, and we'll get into that as well. Let me tell you something about South Central France from the year 1764 to 1767. The prosecution and looking for werewolves to kill them. I mean, we're talking about like 80 men, women, children, stuff like that. I mean, it's not a whole lot, but it definitely happened. It definitely happened. But anyway. You see some appearances of werewolves in Asian cultures as well. You also see it, like I said before, mentioned in medical documents, which is very interesting. But now let's get into the folk beliefs, because the point of this stream, the point of this episode, the point of this Deadman's Tome podcast episode is to talk about not what is a werewolf, but how can I become a werewolf, right? Right? Now, before we get there, how I can become a werewolf, how you can become a werewolf, we need to talk about the folklore. I can barely even talk right now. Folklore stuff. So, most people know what a werewolf looks like, right? It's a man who turns into a wolf. But there's differences from culture to culture of what really it is. Is it a man that temporarily, a man or woman that temporarily transforms into a werewolf or into a beast or an animal of some sort? Because they do change. Some cultures believe they turn to snakes. Some cultures believe they can turn into tigers. Now, some think that it's permanent. Some think it's temporary. Some cultures have it to where it is the werewolf form that is permanent, and it's the man transformation part that is the temporary part. I don't know how you really differentiate that. It seems like it's the same thing. Okay, you're part in this body, part in that body. Some believe that it is the animal or the werewolf form is a spiritual form that is wandering around and isn't really the person at all. That's interesting. Being able to, I guess, have an out of body experience, but as a werewolf or something, that's weird. And all these variations, though, it's like, all right, so you talk about these folklore things, but is there any proof behind it? And that's the thing with folklore, right? It's like, where is the proof? You have anecdotal data and you have stories, and it's like, what could you really do with that? Not much, but kind of speculate and shoot the shit about. Fine. But what about how to transform into a werewolf? Well, there's various ways to do that. Apparently, a simple way to do it is all you have to do is strip all the way down butt naked and put on a belt made of wolf skin. Now, how am I supposed to get a belt made of wolf skin? Do I go to Etsy for that? Do I go to... What do I do? I just search that? But you get apparently if you get a belt made of wolf skin, get totally butt naked, put that on, next thing you know, you are a werewolf. I don't know how long it takes. I don't know if it's like an overnight thing. I don't know if you re-transform back into a human when the belt comes off. That would be something, right? So pretty simple. You don't need moonlight, apparently. You don't need the moon. Which, by the way, the association with the moon, or the full moon, the connection between a werewolf and a full moon, that didn't form until 20th century. And why is that? Why is it that you see werewolves and lichens in ancient Greek literature, but no mentioning at all of any full moons or anything about the moon at all? But then in 20th century, it really draws importance about the full moon. Well, I would imagine it has to do with, and bear with me here, film. I say that because I don't recall in any literature pertaining to werewolves any clear indication it has anything to do with the moon before film. After film, after werewolf movies, yeah, then you get, authors talk about, the full moon, the werewolves, and using the cliches that were established in film. Now, if I'm wrong there, fine, correct me, that's fine. But go digging, because I couldn't find it. Now, why is that? Well, for film, a lot of things are kind of made in the moment, made for film, like you'll find that various myths pertaining to werewolves are made around that time, I guess, to make it work, really. And one of which I'm gonna have to say is gonna be the full moon, because if you're gonna have this beast that transforms at night, okay, how are you gonna show that on the pitch black screen at night? It's you're not going to really do that. But if you could have it to where in the background, behind the werewolf, there is a full moon, that stark contrast. Oh, that's gonna look great. That's gonna be very vivid. And when someone does that, afterwards, everyone's gonna follow suit, and that's what happens. Like I said, you can look at the ancient literature. They don't talk about full moons. There's no importance about full moons. Really, in ancient literature, it's like, if anything, there's some sort of divine curse. You piss off a god, you're going to turn into a werewolf. Oh, remind me too. That reminds me. I remember. I recall hearing from some people, "Oh, do you know there's werewolves in the Bible?" That's not really true at all either. I mean, I don't know what people were talking about werewolves in the Bible, but there weren't any werewolves in the Bible, at least from what I could tell. The Babylonian king that was turned into some sort of beast. What's his name? Nachadocha. He was transformed to something, all right, as a curse, but a werewolf is not what was described at all. Nothing even close to it. Werewolves don't have eagle feathers. Werewolves don't have like talons of claws, right? At least, and werewolves aren't eating grass. But yeah. Anyway, going back to how I could become a werewolf, how you and I could become werewolves. Well, apparently you can get a magic salve and just rub that over your body, and that'll be it. Can you buy that? Can you find that somewhere? Yeah, you can. You can Google search. You can find that. I don't know if they're real or not. They're probably just as reliable as Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop products. Let's see. Apparently, if you really want to turn into a werewolf, you can drink rainwater out of the footprint of the animal that you want to transform into. So if you really like your cat and when you become like your cat's best friend, when you become like a werecat, or that's if you would become a werecat, then you would let your cat go outside, let it make a footprint. You might have to force the cat to make a footprint because they're not very powerful, and then pour a little water in there and just lap it up like milk out of a saucer. Do that, and you could turn into your werekitty if you wanted to. I'm not making this up. This is according to certain traditions, certain beliefs. Apparently, according to a 16th century Swedish author, the Livonian werewolves were initiated by draining a cup of specially prepared beer. So drinking it, you just drink a cup of beer, of special beer, not this Lone Star beer that I'm drinking right here, but something special. And if you want to know what that is, oh, don't worry, I looked it up. I looked for it, and I found it. Let me put it on the screen for those watching on the YouTube side. If you're listening to the podcast feed, what I can tell you is it's not much. The label has a face of a face of a woman merged with a face of a wolf, so half and half thing. Let's see, pull up here. Yeah, and this beer is not rated very well at all. Let's see, put it here. Oh, what? I saved it, apparently, but it's not here. Whatever. That's not important. It's not important. Don't worry about that. Anyway, but yeah, apparently the beer does claim to be beer legit. It's called Werewolf. I'm sorry. And I know it said Lithuanians world famous beer making traditions take their roots to antiquity. Lithuanians know their beer and truly appreciate this remarkable potation. They know what. Apparently, if you drink this, you're gonna turn into a werewolf. I don't know, man. But the rating, it's horrible. People describe it having like no real, like a very strong malty flavor, but like there's no head to it. There's no form to it. It's all imbalanced. It becomes cloggy. It like when you taste it, the aftertaste is salty and chewy. Why is a beer described as salty and chewy after you drink it? What are they putting in there? What is that? Yeah. So if you really want to try that, you can go find it. The beer's called Werewolf. Let's see. You could actually make an allegiance to Satan to become a werewolf. But that seems pretty hard to do. I don't know how to do that. How do you become allied with Satan? I have a poster behind me that says Satan is your friend. I don't think I'm allied with Satan. How do you become allied with Satan? But if you do that, you have to carry out some horrible acts. You have to eat human flesh. Eat babies. So you could just stay behind a Planned Parenthood and just, just raise the dumpster. I guess. I don't know. I'm just going by this. Or you could be there and be like, I just want to become a werewolf. Can I eat your baby? No, you'd be arrested. Oh man. You could become you can get cursed. You could try to piss off God and get cursed. That seems pretty hard to do though. All right, so I think the best way to do this, to become a werewolf, is to drink the rainwater from a footprint of an animal. So, after it rains, you need to go out there, look around for any footprints, any animal prints, and that rainwater. You have a straw in hand, hopefully, and just sip it up. Sip it up. Ooh. You'll probably get dysentery from that shit, man. Nasty. Nasty. Ugh. Ugh. Okay. So let's say you turn into a werewolf. And I like how none of these ancient, I guess, none of these things I'm reading right now, none of it, I haven't mentioned anything about being bitten by a werewolf or anything like that. I mean, first you have to find a werewolf. I don't know about you, but they seem pretty hard to find. People claim they spot them, but when they show they have evidence, you don't see anything. It's all grainy and blurry, right? So good luck on that. Now, let's say you do this. Let's say you drink the rainwater from a footprint. And if you want to know, am I really turning into a werewolf? Well, you'll know if you're turning into a werewolf if you start getting some of the features. Now, you might think you're going through this crazy transformation like you saw in like Underworld or whatever. That seems too painful. That would kill you. All right? That would freaking kill you right there. Just pain alone, your body would be in shock. Yeah, come on. Let's be real. Let's be real. I'm talking about werewolves. According to according to the lore, according to folklore beliefs, your eyebrows are just gonna start growing in to each other, get a form of unibrow. All right, so you start forming a unibrow. Then you know that you might be transforming into a werewolf. When your fingernails start curving, and your ears start getting low, and your stride, you start swinging as you walk. All right, you might be transforming. If you really want to know, you got to take a knife. Got to kind of cut into your skin, and under it, if you start seeing some hair sticking out, there you go. You know you have a beast inside you. By the way, I got to say, for legal reasons, don't do that. Don't cut yourself. But this is one of the ways they would try to see whether or not someone was a werewolf. According to the Russians, you know if you're turning into a werewolf, or have spotted a werewolf, or living with one, if they have hair under the tongue. You have any hair under your tongue? Oh shit! I have a hair. I have a little bristle on my tongue. I might be a werewolf, guys. I might. I don't know. I have to get that checked. And I'm not making this up. This is real. This is real news. Real news. So if that's not happening, you got to keep on trying. Keep on going out there with the straw, or get a wolf belt, or a belt made out of wolf skin. Try to piss off God. Get a magic salve. Drink special beer that does not taste very good. Probably very expensive as well. And make a deal with the devil. Do all these things, and you're bound to become you're bound to become a werewolf, or get locked up for being insane or some shit. Now, what about the remedies? The remedies, man. So let's say you become a werewolf, and you want to know, man, how do I stop this? I no longer want to be a werewolf. Well, good news. The cure is very simple. All you have to do, according to ancient Greeks and Romans, is exhaust yourself. All you have to do is go through physical, just exercise, just work out a lot, just physically strain yourself, tire yourself out, and you will never transform. How does that make any sense? That's what the ancient Greeks did. That's what the Romans did. Their logic there, I believe, is because people would often say they were tired and very weak afterwards. But like, okay, well, let's just tire you out. That should get it out of you, I guess. Follow that logic there. According to medieval Europe, there's various methods that could cure a victim of lycanthropy. They use wolfsbane. Okay. Or use surgery. They're gonna take the beast out of you using surgery. I don't know if I would trust that. Or they use an exorcism. They would exorcise you. You could try to convert yourself back to Christianity. Apparently, that's a way to get rid of a werewolf. Or, according to some ancient German beliefs, all you have to do is say their Christian name 3 times. So it seems like a werewolf is actually pretty easy to beat. All these werewolf movies, like Evolution. Did I say Evolution? That's not the movie I'm thinking of. God dang it. What am I thinking? Why is that word coming in my mind right now? But Underworld, you know what I'm talking about. Underworld, Werewolf in Paris, Werewolf in London, the Dog Soldiers, movies like that where you have, of course, werewolves. All you have to do, instead of using guns and all that to stop them, all you have to do is say their Christian name 3 times. All you have to do is skull at them. All you have to do is give them a mean, nasty look, and then they will transform back into a human, or you just take the werewolf out of them. Or get the cross and convert them to Jesus. I convert you to Jesus. Say Jesus. Accept him as your Lord and Savior. Pretty easy to be. Not that tough. Now, what do you think? Think we could turn into? You think we? I can't even speak. You think we could turn into werewolves? I don't know. But one thing I want to talk about. It's interesting, this part. Apparently, there's some connection between werewolves and Nazis. In 1944, when the Nazis were losing in World War II, the supply lines are cut. Supplies are running low. The battle's on their doorstep. The Russians are coming. The Allies are in. They had this operation called Operation Werewolf, where they would try to use guerrilla warfare tactics behind enemy lines. Use a commando force. Okay. Obviously, this did not work. It didn't have any dent to the effort to destroy the Nazis at all. It did nothing because of 2 major reasons. One, the supply lines were gone. And the just demoralized. Like the German forces, the commanders, they were done. They thought they already lost. It was already over. Another reason why they lost is these idiots, and their plan for guerrilla warfare, is they would stockpile, have weapon caches here and there. The problem with that is, as the Allies were coming in, American forces were stumbling upon other weapons. Imagine that. You go invade Germany, and you find hidden stashes of weapons. You're like, oh, what? That's weird. What you could do? Of course you could take all that shit. So like, I guess the Germans were hoping that the Allies wouldn't find their stash of toys. Of course they're gonna find them. They're in your yard, dude. They're looking around. They're gonna find shit. I'm a little sad. I gotta say, I'm a little sad. I was hoping I would find something that would seem worthwhile. I would find something that I could go, okay, we could try this to turn into a werewolf, but I don't think it's gonna happen. What I'll try to do, and maybe get my hands on the special wolf beer if I can. Maybe get a wolf belt, be butt naked on a stream and wear it and see if I transform. But I don't think it's going to work, guys. I don't think it's going to work at all. But yeah, that's the werewolf. Not as cool as it is in modern in modern film, in modern literature. Werewolves now are much cooler than this. They are somehow invincible, except for by silver, which, by the way, the silver bullet doesn't really come into play until, like, I think, I have it here on the note here. Let's see, the first time a silver bullet was really used was in 1767 by a fictional character, Jean Chastel, to defeat a man-eating beast, a man-eating animal. But even in that, it wasn't the silver that was important about the bullets. It was that they were fictitious medals of the Virgin Mary that was important. But whatever. On Brothers Grimm fairy tales, the two brothers use use silver bullets to defeat a bulletproof witch. And then there's some epic folk songs. Epic folk songs about using silver bullets to drive out the enemies and monsters that are trying to feed a man. So, I mean, the connection's not really there. Wait, but it sounds cool. Silver. What is it? What is it about silver? Is there some sort of magical property about silver that, like, destroys their DNA? Maybe. I don't know. Got to find a werewolf to find out, right? I'll tell you what. I turn into a werewolf. I don't know if I want to finish that. Sure. If I turn into a werewolf, we'll try out the silver theory. I'll get some silver, rub it on me, and see what happens. Probably nothing. A whole lot of nothing. All right. Now, as far as werewolves, I don't have anything else to say here for tonight. On the next stream, what I want to talk about, next episode related to werewolves, is talk about some of the best werewolves in film and of course, in literature and horror novels. We'll do that. But I wanted to lay down the groundwork and talk about what they are, how you transform into one, at least according to ancient lore, and yeah. All right, ladies, gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you found it informative, cool. If you like it, press the thumbs up button. Leave a review on iTunes if you can, if you're listening to the podcast part. Y'all take it easy.